Well, it still hasn't fixed itself, unfortunately. Welcome back to the MT and me, my nomies. Once again, we're faced with doing the final adjustments on Pearl's left rear brake drum. Over the past few weeks, we've managed to get all the parts back in there and slowly but surely get them into the correct places. And then we slipped the drum on it last week, and it won't go completely on. It doesn't fit. We're going to have to readjust the shoes. They're too far out. And that means pulling that 70-pound drum back off again and putting it on and off a few times, which is going to wear me out. But we got to do it. Thing is, I'm not going to do it today. It's been raining. It's about to start raining again. So I'm fighting weather. I'm also this week fighting a pretty busy week at work because, well, we have some new software running on our radio stations, and it's requiring a whole lot of attention and tweaking and final adjustments. So I'm just working a little overtime and having to put in a few more hours at my real job, and that's less that I can come in and put in on Pearl. So it's going to be one of those weeks. And for today, I'm not even going to get started because just as soon as I do, it's going to start raining. All I can say is maybe tomorrow, if it doesn't rain. Stick around and see here on the MT and me. So I get home today and sure enough, it's raining. All right, that's all right. I'm pretty worn out. I didn't really want to get out and work on the brake drum anyway. I need to, but just don't really have the want tos. And with the weather like this, well, the decision was made for me. So between the weather and everything that's going on at work this week, it's going to be tough to squeeze in a few minutes to get out there and work on Pearl's wheel. But we'll try. Maybe tomorrow, if it's not raining again. But of course, it rained again. Even harder. And finally, it's not raining. I say that with crossed fingers because it has been. And chances are it's going to be again. But I've got a window here where I can actually work with this this brake drum, at least for long enough to see if what I have in mind is going to work. And what I have in mind, well, let me back up here for a second. Our current situation is we have everything assembled inside on the brake backing. The new shoes are in there, got new shoes. The new springs are installed, and I think they're put in properly. Everything seems to be in place, hooked back up, and ready to go. Now I want to put this very light, easy to handle 70, 80 pound brake drum back on, and it doesn't go all the way on. I have that much of a gap back here between where the drum should be and where it is. Now that means my shoes are too far out. Okay, we can adjust that. We can adjust that. The thing is, I would like to maybe, itchy nose, maybe just adjust it once, because I don't want to yank this drum off and put it back on any more than is necessary. Now, ideally what we're going for is for the drum to fit over the shoes snugly. I'm not sure if that's the word. They say that if it spins with a little bit of drag, that's okay. You want to be able to hear it, but you don't want it to actually drag across the shoes. Don't want to be rubbing them, but just barely touching them is good, because that makes your brakes, that gives the drum, the shoes, less distance to travel when you apply your brakes, gives you better brakes. Makes a lot of sense, you know. Okay. So that's what we're going for. Now, I have an idea, because, well, I'll tell you what, let me explain that whenever I get to it, okay? First thing we got to do is take a deep breath and get this drum off. Let's go for it. Okay. First of all, let me point out that this drum is in pretty good shape, okay? As far as the inside goes, there's really no scraping, no pitting, so there's no need to look at resurfacing that. They make a tool. It looks like a double caliper, okay? I say double because it's got prongs on the top and on the bottom. All right. Here's what it does. You set it based on the inside diameter of your brake drum at the widest point, which on this one could be just about anywhere because it's pretty well a straight shot. And by doing that, you automatically set the top points, which kind of go up and in, and they fit over your shoes, so that you can adjust your shoes to go between those points, and that way your shoes should just about touch or be pretty close to the inside of your drum. That's a nice tool to have. Not something you're going to use, you know, every week, unless you do brake jobs for a living. So I'm thinking this really ought to be able to do the same thing. Let's see. Now they call these 12-inch brakes. If I go across the inside, it's going to be 11 7/8. That's what I would say. Well, let's try that. Come over here. Now, it's going to be kind of tricky because I can't go right across the middle with this. All I can do is get close. But I can tell you right now that that's a lot more than 11 7/8. Okay. Pull that out of the way. And that means turning it counterclockwise to bring this measurement in. I got a whole lot looser there. Put that back where it belongs. And let's try this approximate measurement again, because I am guessing. That ought to be close. Closer, anyway. See, I see the advantage of having the caliper measurement, because that would go around this. This being a floating axle. You've got this huge steel tube right in the middle of your entire assembly that you can't move. You have to work around. Therefore, it's impossible to go from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, because you can't get through this thing. So yeah, the calipers are handy. So anyway, I think I have this close enough that I'm going to try putting that mama of a drum back on again. Let's see what happens. Well, look at that. That's probably still a little more drag than they were talking about. But it's there and it works. So now, I want to pull this thing off and back it off just a little more. I know I could do that from behind under here, but that's honestly just about as much trouble and time consuming at this point as it is to take this thing off and readjust it and put it back on. So there's two ways to approach this. Point is, I think that's just a little bit too much drag. I wonder if I could get in there with a screwdriver and make a difference. Maybe I should try that. It's still making some rubbing noise. And you brake people may tell me that could be better. But I'm calling that good for now. Partly because, yeah, I think it might actually be good. And partly because I'm just tired of messing with it. You know what I mean? So I may end up having to get back in here and do this completely over one day. But as I have pointed out on several occasions, Pearl is not a rolling vehicle at this point. I've got quite a few other projects to do before I really have to worry about these brakes functioning properly. So yeah, at this point of the game, close enough is good enough for me. So that gets us back to the reassembly of this. Putting the half shaft, the actual drive shaft, back in. But of course, before it goes into place, there's some bearings and at least a couple of retainers that go back inside here. Now that's a job. Now here, once again, it's getting late. I don't know if you can tell, but it's starting to get dark. I don't want to get started on that this time around. I am going to put this back in place for now. And now I can't find the right position for it. But you know what? I'm going to put it right there and cover it up. So there's that. And when we come back to this job, we'll get this, get our bearings and all put back in, get them in place, and hopefully even get the tires back on. She'll start looking like herself again then. But we'll save that for next time around. Boy, this has been a journey getting this far. And like I say, I realize it's not over yet. But we're so much closer than we have been in the past. So we got the brake drum back in position this week, and a lot of you might look at that as not being a huge accomplishment, and well, truthfully, no, it wasn't exactly rocket science. But it is done. That's the point. And in this week, even getting that done was an accomplishment. And next week is another week. Should be able to breathe a little easier at work. Again, I hope so. And yeah, so we'll get back and see about getting the axle put in, the bearings and everything like that, because this stuff needs to be lubricated and all before it's put back together. And I'm not even sure I have the stuff to do that, so we're going to have to do some checking and see. But that's all for next time here on the MT and Me, okay? Thank you so much for joining me this time and each and every week here. If you're not a subscriber, please take care of that. You can do so below with just one click. And of course, give me a thumbs up on this video. That helps YouTube take notice and promote the video to more viewers. And it helps me a whole lot, I can tell you that. So hope you'll join us every time as we continue taking care of my baby here and trying to get her roadworthy once again. All right. Nomies, love you guys and gals. See you next time around. Till then, I'm Russ, and we will talk later.